I'm eagerly thinking of our next speaker, Lena Taveras. She has this job working for Facebook as a content strategist on the Facebook Messenger platform. And why I love that we get to hear from her is that she's one of those people who needs to understand what's going on and then teach other people about it, which means you really have to understand the subject. You really have to understand what works and also, in her case, what doesn't work, right? Her job is to help other businesses that want to be on the platform to create a bot, figure out how to go about it. What are the best practices, what works and what doesn't work? And so that's why I'm really happy to invite, there you are, Elena, up to the stage.
Welcome, Elena. Welcome.
I'd like to get started by asking how many of you have tried online dating? Well, those of you who raised your hands can appreciate the fact that on one of my dates, the guy who showed up didn't exactly look like the guy in the profile photos. Superficial, I know. But the conversation started out pleasantly enough. Hi, I'm Elena. How do you do? What do you do? And so on. But the more drinks we had, the more he started sharing, like about his ex-girlfriend. As I sat there thinking, I was at home watching TV. This is when I changed the channel. She kept going on about how she broke up with him when she got into medical school, and would she ever take him back? You're probably sitting there thinking, I'm here to learn about content strategy for Fox. Why is this woman standing up there talking to me about online dating? I know, I can't believe it either. But what I do believe is that whether you're building a bot or going on a date, you're trying to create a relationship. And I'm here to make sure you create a healthy one. The most important part of any relationship is communication. And that's where content strategy comes in. Content strategy will help your bot set expectations by bridging the gap between what you put out there and what people actually experience. It'll help you give people the context and transparency they need to understand and trust your intentions. And it'll also help you create engaging interactions so people will actually want to see you again and again and again. My work in PR marketing and content strategy over the past 18 years has taught me how to talk to people from every possible angle. I use that experience every day at Facebook, where I help the Messenger brand sound and feel more human. I lead the content strategy for Messenger platform and also its presence at F8, Facebook's annual developer conference. Last year, we introduced the ability to build bots on our platform, and part of my work entailed developing demos for some of the experiences created by our partners. I also wrote the website that outlined the technology and tools available, and I wrote all of the content for the F8 bot, a bot we built specifically for attendees to use during the conference. I also wrote the Messenger platform guidelines, which include some of the best practices I'll be sharing with you today. But before I get started, let me warn you. Everyone's still learning about bots and about relationships. The technology itself is still being fine-tuned, and it will continue to evolve and change, especially as the people creating it stop to look at how people are actually using and reacting to it. So I'm going to focus on that second piece today. How to humanize the bot experiences you build and write. Even if you're still learning about the technology behind it, I'll make sure you understand how to set yourself up for success by sharing some of what I've learned, mostly about bots, and a little bit about relationships, because they're all connected. Now, just like a conversation, setting expectations is a two-way street. As user experience professionals, we want to build what's best for the people who use our products. But we also have to be mindful of what's best for ourselves. To build the right relationship, you have to know what you're looking for. So before you build your bot, build out your strategy. Decide what kind of relationship you want to have with your customers, what you want to get back from people, and what you want to accomplish together. When we created the F8 bot, we were looking for a short-term relationship. The conference was only 2 days long, so our goals were simple, and most of the attendees would be from out of town. But how are we going to accomplish this? We started by listing all of the things we wanted in a bot. We wanted to know everything about the conference partners and products. We wanted it to entertain with trivia, historical facts, and polls. We wanted it to answer attendees' questions. And we wanted it to mimic the voice of a particular golden robot from a galaxy far, far away. We wanted the perfect bot. Then we got realistic. We wanted our bot to do everything, but there's a difference between getting things done and doing them well. We had to look at how much we could bring to the relationship. We didn't start working on the bot until about 3 weeks before the conference, and it was a side project. Something we worked on when our main priorities and relationships weren't demanding our attention. To make room in our life for the F8 bot, we had to make some sacrifices. We revisited our list of ideals and defined our must-haves, nice-to-haves, and deal breakers. While we originally wanted to build 6 different features, we only ended up building 1. Bots hold a lot of promise, but they can also be humbling. We're humans building non-human interactions. We have to consider things like time and resources and how those factors impact the quality of an experience. Humans aren't capable of everything, so don't feel like your bot has to be. We're in UX, so naturally we want to explore all of the possibilities. And with that comes is often self-imposed pressure to get really creative, to pull out all the bells and whistles so we can really impress. But complexity doesn't equal quality. A bot can be both simple and good. Look at our relationships with our smartphones. We're addicted to the things, but how many of you actually know everything your smartphone can do? Personally, I have about 160 apps on my phone, but use 10, maybe. I mainly use it to annihilate my brother in Scrabble, but my point is, your chatbot doesn't need to be identical to your standalone app. If you're a bank, it's okay if you only offer account balances, not check deposits. If you're in retail, it's okay if you only offer order confirmations and not customer service. Your bot doesn't have to do everything you do everywhere else. It can be a complement, not a clone. Let's look at Whole Foods as an example. With its app, you can get coupons, see what's on sale, find recipes, create a shopping list, and order groceries. With its messenger bot, you can only find recipes. Just because it only offers one feature doesn't mean it doesn't offer real functionality that everyone can enjoy. And it doesn't mean that's all it will ever do. Remember, we're all still learning. The technology is still evolving. It's okay to enter the bot world one step at a time, one feature at a time, and then do that one thing really well. Because you want to make a good first impression, and the most important way to make a good impression is being yourself. I also like to think of bots as getting the attention of that popular kid in school. You know, the one that you actually grew up with, but who stopped talking to you when you both became freshmen, then suddenly acknowledges your existence again second semester of senior year. You look around, you point at yourself, and then leave. Because it's been a while since they wanted anything from you. Then you start looking for the perfect thing to say because you don't want them to disappear again. Except no. Just because a popular kid or some happy technology comes along doesn't mean you have to change who you are. Be authentic. While a bot may be a new way for your business to communicate, it doesn't have to change your communication style. If your company has an established voice, your bot can use it too, because your voice is your personality. You're new to this. The people you'll be talking to are new to this. Stick with what you and your customers already know and give everyone one less thing to figure out. Now, if you want to try to new tone, there are some simple ways to mirror the conversational nature of an interface. But being conversational is just a style of writing. It doesn't impact the experience you build or what you're actually communicating. It just encourages the use of everyday colloquial language. You can also decide if you want to speak as a bot or you can acknowledge that you are a bot. Both CNN and TechCrunch adjust their tone slightly to use first person, but only TechCrunch introduces itself as a bot. As these examples illustrate, writing conversationally doesn't mean creating an entirely new brand or changing what people know about you. It simply means using a more personal tone. talking more like a human and less like a bot. Now, when experimenting with tone, there's a fine line between using a more personal conversational style and getting too personal. In a short period of time, written communication has evolved from letters to emails and websites to text messages. We can have more conversations more quickly, and we've adapted our communication style accordingly. We become more casual and less formal. A recent study even shows that the more you use punctuation in your text messages, the more you're viewed as insincere. Cue the collective gasps of writers everywhere.
Yeah.
Please ignore these types of texting trends. The interface you're using may be more casual, but you still want to be taken seriously, so maintain the basic rules of writing. Proper spelling, capitalization, and sentence structure will only help you set better expectations. I've seen bots become so informal that the tone dilutes its actual utility. The content focuses so much on being casual and clever that people don't understand what the bot does or how to use it. They think it's designed for back and forth conversation, but then that doesn't work either. Soon enough, they stop using the bot altogether. The great thing about tone is that it can change. And you can change it without changing what's being communicated. Your bot doesn't always have to be casual. Make adjustments along the way based on your environment or the topic of the conversation. Do what feels right for your content. M is an automated assistant in Messenger and has a very distinct voice. You experience that voice the first time you meet M, and it's carried through when M completes various tasks. But what about those times when someone asks M about something more serious? Recently, I had to determine how M will respond if someone asks about a recent attack or disaster and wants to know if a loved one is okay. Now, we don't have access to that type of information, and we have to honor privacy laws. But we also don't want to abandon people when they're already worried or scared. I consider terms like I'm sorry or unfortunately, but felt those set a negative tone in an already serious situation. As humans, we rely on these terms to reassure and apologize. But since M won't actually know if someone was affected and whether or not they're safe, it felt inappropriate to imply otherwise. In these circumstances, people expect information, not sympathy. I had to ignore my human instinct to make someone feel better. I had to write a response that was factual yet sensitive, something that wouldn't heighten emotions further. Setting expectations is the most important piece of advice I have for you today. If you don't set expectations, people will expect everything. People can't read your mind, and bots technically don't have one. So be upfront and tell people what you're thinking. Meet users where they already are, so you can build the trust you need to take them where you want them to go. Because bots are often associated with artificial intelligence, writing for bots requires a high level of emotional intelligence. It requires the kind of transparency we wished existed in our interpersonal relationships. You have to be clear and honest about your intentions. You have to explain the who, what, where, when, why, and how. You have to admit when something goes wrong. Writing for bots requires going outside of your human communication comfort zone. As humans, we're not very good at this. We struggle with it. Being vulnerable is hard. Admitting when you're wrong, even harder. We have walls, we have baggage, and we have moods. We have different perspectives, different communication styles, different love languages, period. As you develop your content, look for ways to balance your business goals with the emotional factors that guide how people think and behave. You're creating an automated interaction, but it doesn't have to feel mechanical. You're a human writing a bot for other humans. Consider all the feels. Be empathic. Be considerate. And be patient. How many of you practice conversations by talking to yourself? I do it all the time. And creating content for bots isn't that different. Before you write a single word, just imagine how the conversation will go. What questions are being asked? What questions do you actually want to answer? What words are being used? Just like your voice, use language your audience is already familiar with. Write down the words you use with your customers and the words they use to describe you. Now, the same word can mean different things to different people. For example, you might think quirky just means fun. I might think it's a polite way of saying that someone's just really weird. If you and your customers define the same thing differently, go with their meaning. In Messenger, we have something called admin text, which confirms an action taken within a conversation. I had to determine what language to use for account linking scenarios. There are bots that enable people to log into an existing account outside of Messenger, link that account to the bot, then start receiving updates from that bot in Messenger. I recommended being detailed when confirming that the login action was complete, a recommendation that one partner wanted me to make less specific. Because to them, being logged into an account meant having the full functionality of the account, looking at bills, making payments, checking balances, etc. However, their bot would only be providing purchase confirmation updates. So from their perspective, it was a temporary login that only took place for account linking scenarios. I wanted to be thorough and make sure that my language and original logic didn't miss anything, so I revisited the flow. But no matter how I looked at it, I kept coming back to the end user and their perspective. Just because a bot offers a different range of services doesn't change the perception of how those services are accessed. In the end, we ended up staying with the recommended language because the existing mental model of logging in and out is associated with account, not time duration. And temporary or not, customers would be using the same username and password to access the account. It also needed to be clear what people were logged into so it wouldn't be confused with a separate experience they may have interacted with. Additionally, the content in the messages bubbles above and below the action could be used to set expectations and provide clarity about what would happen next. Telling people what happens next is a big part of getting them to use and keep using your bot. So using the strategy you build, start mapping out the conversations you imagined having. Determine all the paths people can take to complete the tasks you've outlined, then start writing. Write out all the prompts and responses you want to send. Include the keywords you've already identified. Use your existing voice and tone to be as descriptive as possible to set expectations. When we narrowed down the features for the F8 bot, we decided to focus on only giving attendees basic conference information. Our intent was to answer anything associated with scheduling, topics, speakers, and locations. For example, the F8 bot could tell you how many people were speaking in total, details about a specific presenter, who was speaking on what topic, who was currently hosting a session, and where that session was being held. We mapped it out so that everything worked together to keep the conversation on track. We listed all the possible user intents, when they'd be asking for information, and whether we wanted to respond to the occasional hello, thank you, or the messenger equivalent of the like button. Once we mapped everything out, nearly every prompt and response was written to educate users on what they could do and how to get it done. On nearly every path they pursued, we offered reminders about our core function. Now, we all know someone who tells the same stories over and over again, or constantly reuses the same catchphrase, but none of us actually enjoy those conversations. Well, the same thing goes for conversations with bots. So I kept writing and writing until I had 3 to 5 responses for each prompt. Because if you send the same response over and over, people will think your functionality is limited and people will get bored. People tend to ignore the things that they find boring. But people are people, so they're going to test you. See if they can find your triggers. As humans, we don't like getting our buttons pushed, but welcome it for your bot because the insight will be invaluable. It will introduce you to different paths and perspectives. When writing the F8 bot, I tried to imply that our bot was sentient. I gave it thoughts, the bot had opinions, and it wanted to be part of the human world. Per our original goals, I was trying to be delightful and memorable. And we all agreed I was succeeding until we opened it up for testing and people started asking for the bathroom. I obviously wasn't picturing that location when writing this content. Our bot went from delightful to creepy. So I started revising. I turned questions into statements. I removed time references so responses could be more evergreen. And I edited for length and clarity. And I talked to myself a lot. Because finding the right words is one thing. It's another to capture the right rhythm and nuances. By reading my content out loud, often to myself alone at night on my couch, I could hear where the tone didn't sound very conversational and adjust my word choice and punctuation accordingly. No matter how much you plan, you can't predict all of the outcomes. So test early and often, invite feedback and other perspectives, and talk to yourself a little bit along the way. See if things turn out as expected. If setting expectations is king, providing context is queen. So use your content to guide people every step of the way. Let them know what stage they're at, what's being asked of them, and what will happen next. Give people the information and level of detail they need to start trusting you, to be more curious and less suspicious. Context can be shared before anyone even interacts with your bot while you're still building awareness. Think of it like body language. Your posture, the way you walk, and the firmness of your handshake reveal a lot about you before you say a single word. So you want to appear confident so you can instill confidence. And there's nothing more confident than putting yourself out there. People won't know about your bot or how great it is unless you tell them about it. So use your existing channels to promote your bot. Use your plugins or customized links in your emails, blog, or your website. Go where your customers already are and talk about it on social media. And when you do, tell them exactly what you're promoting, what will happen, and where it'll happen. None of it will mean very much if they don't even have you app where your bot exists. Now, when you provide context outside of your bot experience, consider the level of detail you're providing. The benefit of a chatbot interface is that all of your communication is all in one place, so people can scroll back to find key information. The original entry point where they even learn that you had a bot may not be so easy to find again, so keep your context high level and leave any detailed instructions and commands for the conversation itself. And think of promoting your bot like a dating profile. You want people to be curious enough to start a conversation, because you really can't start getting to know each other until that first message gets sent. And that first message can feel like a lot of pressure because you want people to respond. So just start by briefly introducing yourself, then get specific about your capabilities and how people can interact with you. For the F8 bot's first message, we outlined everything someone could ask about and provided examples of how to frame their queries. We also gave people a way to find those instructions again by building in a help command. I created multiple versions of a response here as well, all with the same directions, but written in a variety of ways to show off the voice and personality of our bot even further. Whether you want people to type and send a command, tap a CTA, or find help in a persistent menu, always give them a way to ground themselves in your experience. A help command is like the homepage of a website, a place for people to go if they don't know or can't remember what they're looking for. Now, what do you do if you're the one who needs help? There will inevitably come a time when someone asks you about something you didn't plan for, that they misspell or misinterpret content, that there's simply a breakdown in communication. Now, this is the really hard part, the part that really stings as a human. Taking responsibility when something goes wrong, even if it's not your fault. You may have been crystal clear with your expectations and provided all the context in the world. But remember that bit about emotional intelligence? We each have our own attention spans and points of view, so your intent and the messages you send are open to interpretation. People are going to make mistakes. They're going to ignore your instructions. There will be things you didn't anticipate or simply overlooked. There's no blame when you have a bot. If you want people to continue talking to you, there's only accountability. As a human, that can be pretty tough on the ego. But every failure really is an opportunity. So when you map out your conversations, write responses for success and fail states. way, if your bot doesn't understand what's being asked, you can deliver a response that asks for clarification or points people back to your core functionality. For the F8 bot, each failsafe either asks users to re-enter terms, reminding them how to ask for help, or redirecting them back to our main functions. Our fail-safes weren't always an attempt to find and deliver an answer because we didn't have all of them. Our bot had a very specific purpose, which limited what people could ask about. We had to be okay with saying, hey, I have no idea what you're talking about. These are the only things I'm capable of. Despite my term for them, fail states aren't actually about failure. They're about helping you avoid awkward silences and conversational dead ends. Fail states are your way to get people back on track and on task. Once you have people back at center, you can focus on continuing the conversation. One way to keep people engaged is to keep them updated. Send messages that are timely and relevant to your experience. If they place an order, send a message receipt. When the order ships, send a message with tracking information. After it's delivered, follow up to see if they need anything else. Create opportunities to restart the conversation. With a bot, you can communicate a lot in a short amount of time. Its automated nature means more conversations can take place more quickly. However, that speed can overwhelm if someone is learning how to interact with you or if they're multitasking. So when you're writing, try to be brief. This isn't email and screen sizes vary, so be considerate of your message length. And when you're sending your messages, consider your pacing. You don't want to come on too strong by sending multiple messages in a row. One way to address length and pacing is by addressing the actual content of your messages. Just because a chatbot is like texting doesn't mean your messages have to be all text. The bulk of human communication involves words, but gestures, facial expressions, and other nonverbals also can convey meaning. Bots don't have these to draw from, but they have access to the texting equivalent. So if photos, GIFs, and emoji are in line with your bot's voice and functionality, consider how those can speak for you in a fun and engaging way. Now, being engaging is a long way from being engaged, but even if you just are getting started with your bot, start thinking long term. The best practices I just shared with you can also help you plan how you'll evolve. Look back at your original strategy and identify how you can expand your capabilities, where you can introduce new tasks, and what simply isn't working or being used. As your resources and availability grow, make improvements and build the things you previously had to cut. As new platform tools get built, look how those can be used to enhance your existing interactions or create new ones. As more people start interacting with you, pay attention to what they're asking, how they're asking for it, and when. Bring people along on your journey and let their feedback guide where you go and what you say next. If you do, your conversations will be so engaging that people will be less likely to get up and walk away from your bot or your relationship. Unlike me on that date. Thank you.
That's really good ones.
Request to go back to the slide 1 second for URL. If we can. Photo.
Thank you, Elena. That brought a tear to my eye too as a journalist and content strategist. It's like manna for me to watch you talk like that. It's really good.
Really?
It's the best day
And
ever.
best day ever today.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
And so we're going to keep it going though. Next up is Mark Walsh, who is CEO of Emotional. And his career has really been about emotional content and understanding the importance of that. He has added character to nearly every Pixar film, and he's bringing forward that sense of importance of emotional content to what he's doing every day. He's going to tell us how do we actually get the sociopath, some of those evils that we talked about, out of AI as we create it for people. So, Mark, where are you?
Right here.
What's up?